Missed voice call
qualities.
4 minutes ago.
But it's also
Melissa,
that
button.
WhatsApp,
WhatsApp, profile photo, message, contact, voice call.
we're coming to recognize, I think, increasingly that our governments, state machinery, are not necessarily the best drivers of social change, and particularly for social innovation. And in this regard, there is an increasingly important role for non-profit organizations, social entrepreneurship, and so on. And I think in this, from that standpoint, this publication comes at a really important and critical time. The region, I would argue, and it's backed up by the data, is pulling out of the global economy. Our share of global value added has plummeted in the last 3 decades. This is evidenced in terms of not only widening inequality, but increasing underperformance and uncompetitiveness in our economic sectors. If we are not in a position to improve our capabilities in social entrepreneurship, the region will not be able to progress. That's why this publication is so important. That's why we need to shift our focus at business schools and at colleges like COSTAT to invest increasingly in this area. Our private sector alone will not be able to be the engine of change. Indeed, it has proven not to be the key indicator, engine of change in our economies, because the economic diversification that we are all desirous of is still wanting. And so I really want to compliment the authors for putting this on everyone's agenda. But this is just the start. There's a lot of work to be done. And so, with those brief remarks, I want to thank the authors and the contributors for making this happen. Let's get the job done. Thank you very much.
Being physically challenged. Good morning, all. Morning. It is my pleasure to be here representing the business sector on such an important occasion. Social entrepreneurship and the operational model of a social enterprise is a for-profit business model that strives to make a positive impact on social issues for the environment. The concept is not an unknown quantity here in Trinidad and Tobago, as I do know of at least one organization that has expended its own resources in providing educational tools on an online platform, a significant percentage of which can be accessed without charge across the Caribbean. The company's motto is, do well by doing good. There are several types of businesses which fit the description of a business of a social enterprise. Credit unions and cooperatives are prime examples, as they are structured to be successful and all profits are used to the benefit of their members. The past 3 years have been particularly challenging to the business sector, more so the MSME sector. Many have not survived economic downturn, one of the unfortunate outcomes of prolonged closures. However, the opportunity is there to create new avenues, as for many, the choice is between shutting up shop for good or seeking to fulfill a need for which there is potential. As entrepreneurs, we must be cognizant of trends, for those are where we find our niches. And now there's much talk of ESG, environment, social, and governance practices, which may be used to determine market access in the future. If this proves to be true, we will all have to become social entrepreneurs, whether or not we are meant to be. While preparing this address, I came across a brief list of the steps required for becoming a successful social entrepreneur. And to be fair, they are very, very similar to what business entrepreneurs do anyway. Finding your passion, building a team culture, getting started, keeping at it, funding your venture and growing organically, scaling up, fundamental difference is the strategic intent. For-profit organizations are so called for a reason. They are meant to successfully generate surpluses, give investors a healthy return, and pay their fair share into the public coffers. We shall not debate whether that is actually done. We should. For a social enterprise, profits create means for good works by which others are empowered to do likewise. Added value to all spheres of business activity has traditionally been driven from a financial perspective. We place great emphasis on balance sheets and end of fiscal year reports, stock prices, and tangible assets. The betterment of any society can only be achieved when all of its many parts can peacefully coexist, when opportunities are available, and the willingness to allocate resources equitably is there. The social entrepreneurship strategies and MPO sustainability, this book's title, suggest a positive step in that direction. The time has come to reevaluate our benchmarks. The world's expectations are vastly different from those of even 10 years ago. No longer are employees looking for staying at one place of employment for beyond a few years. The days of working until achieving that gold watch and parting handshake are long gone. It is estimated that most individuals who change job and career situations at least 5 to 7 times in the course of their working lives. However, the reasons for staying with an organization are now more about achieving work-life balance, feeling engaged and fulfilling a purpose, all of which can be achieved within an organization whose mission is aligned with creating value through its activities and using its resources for the greater good. Similar to social enterprises, businesses through their CSR activities are moving towards achieving the double bottom line, financial and social value. In closing, I wish to congratulate Drs. Medina and Koi for producing what I am sure is soon to become required reading for both budding entrepreneurs and business persons alike. Thank you very much.
So I now approach the podium, putting on my other hat. And it's a hat that has been bequeathed to me from 2 generations before me. I represent the social sector, and I represent my organization, Benya Kwan. Benya Kwan, which is now just over 20 years old, would have been formed for the express desire of strengthening the social sector. You have organizations like Habitat for Humanity who focus on housing. You would have Parenting TT focusing on parenting. And we saw that there was an important role for people coming from within the sector to look after the health of the sector going forward. And we focused then and now on building their ability to match the passion that all people who come into the social sector enter in with. It is a passion. It is, I've seen a need and I need to do something about that need and bring maybe my close family and friends and those who are keen to join me. And as Rima was just saying, we start. Then we can start to struggle with keeping it going because we have not been able to put the focus that Drs. Medina and Koi are really shining a light on how do we become resilient, economically resilient as a sector. It has always been my belief that if every one of the, it's at least officially registered 3,000 NGO organizations down tools for a day, I shudder to think what would happen. We are very, very eager to join hands with academia, with the private sector, with the public sector. All of those sectors need to come hand in hand in order for our country to become, to really fulfill its potential. We might be a dot in the world, but we are a dot that has so much potential to impact the world. And so Benya Kwan is really, really thankful to Drs. Medina and Koi for the work that they've done. In 2014, when I personally, back then, was executive director of Benya Kwan and in charge of contributing to the NGO Professionals Conference, and I heard of Dr. Medina's work, I quickly grabbed her so she could come and let our NGO partners begin to understand the importance of social entrepreneurship. And so it really has been very, very wonderful to see this woman who, as someone earlier said, does not stop until she finishes what she started, come so far. And we know that this again is only the beginning. We are very happy to continue partnering as one of the representatives on the seat. So congratulations. Moving on, ladies and gentlemen. Reviews of published works on occasions like these present the guest with opportunities to get a synopsis of what is in the book. And they sometimes provide a critique of the publication and even point the authors to further areas of research which can be explored. On another note, it's also a good way to encourage purchases of the text, and of course, which I'm sure you'll be so encouraged to do. It is indeed my pleasure then to invite our reviewers. First of all, Professor Wade Dunn, founder of the Corporate Social Responsibility Institute. Professor Dunn's review will be immediately followed by Dr. Knabi Knife of the Center for Entrepreneurship, Thinking and Practice, UWI Muna Campus. So without further ado, I pass on to Professor Wade Dunn.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. Are you able to hear me? Hello, is the audio working?
Yes, yes.
Oh, okay, great. Well, thank you. I am honored and thrilled. And first, I want to I want to congratulate Dr. Medine and Dr. Minto Coy on this book, this concept. It's so important. It comes at such an opportune time as you know, I know the idea for this book started really pre-COVID and it's coming out post-COVID, but the idea is so strong. Oh, are you hearing me?
We're hearing you, Prof. Hunt, but I fear that the room may not be hearing you.
Okay, so what how can I fix it so you hear me?
Hold, let me see if I can reach Ambika. Just a minute.
Okay.
Just to let you know that we can hear you perfectly online.
So maybe
See you clearly. Check your microphone.
can you hear me in the meeting room now?
Thank you.
Yes, they're hearing you. Thank you.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much. I'm actually coming to you today. I'm sitting in our family home where my family has been on a hilltop in northern Saskatchewan for a little over 90 years. I'm here to celebrate my father's 95th birthday and my stepmother's birthday this weekend. So it's an exciting time, and it's all snow here. So when this is over, I'll be heading back to Ghana. But let me start over and just I want to congratulate Dr. Medine and Dr. Minto Coy on this book, and it is such an important book at such an important time in the history of our society, of our planet, and I think it says a lot that the ideas, the intellectual germination of this book happened pre-COVID. It's coming out post-COVID, and it is still so absolutely relevant. It's such an opportune time, and it covers critically important areas. The book the book is an important and pragmatic connection of theory and practice. And what I really like about it is that it's using academia to help propel societal transformation, to help propel social transformation. So often academia gets sometimes deserved, most times not, but a reputation is living in an ivory tower and being disconnected. And I think this book is real proof that disconnection is not real in so many important ways. We live in a time, and we've lived through a time of decades of rapid global growth of private capital and its influence. If I look at my own lifetime, lifetimes of people much younger than me, the role of business.
Well, about 2 o'clock.
Hello?
All right.
Sorry about that.
Is the audio still working?
Yes, it's working, and I'd just like to ask all those who are online to please mute the mic. Thank you. Go ahead, Professor Dunn. Professor Dunn, what you have to say is so very important. I think that there are forces out there that are preventing you from being heard once more, but we will take it out. Please give us a few seconds. Okay, will you try that? Oh, okay, could you test your mic, please? You see, you said. Okay. All right. Okay, could you unmute, please, or just click the prompt?
Can you hear me now?
Thank you. Continue.
Oh, okay. It seems I got muted somehow. I think it might have been somebody muted me online because I never I never touched my mic. And anyway, let me just go back. I had mentioned that this book is comes in at such an opportune time, and it's such an important and pragmatic connection of theory and practice, and demonstrates how academia can help propel social transformation. It demonstrates the relevance of academia. It demonstrates how academia is not rooted in ivory towers and disconnected from the real world. We've lived through decades of rapid global growth of private capital and its influence, not just in the Caribbean, not just in the Americas, but worldwide. And during that time, the government role and responsibility for social stability, which 40, 50 years ago, that was seen as the domain of government, and there was very little room for nonprofit organizations and private capital. The religious sector, churches were involved in it, but that is evolving. It's evolving rapidly, and that responsibility for social stability and social growth and social good has evolved, and it now includes government and private sector and nonprofit organizations and religious organizations. And it's not an altruistic responsibility. There's a strong value connection. The social stability is critical for sustainable returns on private capital. Social stability is critical for effective government and the growth and stability of democratic institutions and democracy itself. We've also seen a rapid shift where there's a growing expectation, and this is global and it goes across all constituencies, but there's increasing demands on private capital to generate social good and be an effective environmental steward at the same time as it's generating profits. And that's an evolving area, and business and private capital is learning at different rates and being, differing levels of effectiveness on that. At the same time that is happening, and that's what's so key about the book and the message it delivers and the thinking that it advances. Nonprofit organizations, if they want to remain effective in delivering on their mission, they must learn to be more efficient at delivering the value propositions that are core to their mission. So if you have a nonprofit organization whose mission is addressing inner city hunger issues, it's important that we bring in some of the efficiency, some of the aspects that we have learned from a private sector, and how can we deliver on that mission at the most efficient use of whatever financing we have, of whatever human resources we have, of whatever social network and connection we have. And this is driving the need for nonprofit organizations to become more entrepreneurial in raising financing and delivering on their mission. And this book discusses key approaches and ideas and thinking and underlying issues around making this happen. And it's very opportune and timely and very, very important. It also sets out that this evolution of social value and environmental stewardship is not a sectoral issue. It's not limited to nonprofits. It's not limited to private sector. It's not limited to government. It's mission critical for all of us. It's an issue that's important, an important value issue for all of us. Now, Dr. Medin asked me to speak just briefly on a mission-driven for-profit organization that I've been running the last few years in Ghana, and I invite you to go to the website and check out our 2022 impact report for more detail. But what we do is we bring ingredients, shea butter, cocoa butter, other ingredients from Ghana that is handmade by women in rural communities in Ghana. We bring that to the North American and global natural and organic skincare and cosmetic sector as ingredients that individuals and small businesses and others use to make their products and ingredients. And we have managed to link our market appeal, our brand identity, to the social impact, to the environmental impact that we have in the remote communities in Ghana. And that gives us a competitive advantage. So we've used that social sector impact to create a private sector competitive advantage on the business and brand side. And I don't want to go into that more, but there's a lot of detail on the website if you want. I think one of the key things that comes out of the book is that without a well-functioning, without a very efficient nonprofit sector operating efficiently and entrepreneurially and delivering value based on their core mission, we will all lose. Every one of us will lose. As individuals in society, we lose if the nonprofit sector is not operating efficiently. Businesses in society lose. There's an important role that nonprofits can play in helping businesses deliver on the social expectations that their constituents and marketplace is delivering. Nonprofits will lose if they're not working efficiently and entrepreneurially. Governments, all of us will lose. I just want to close quickly by touching on the stock exchange, and I really commend Dr. Medine and all of you have been involved in this. My first conversations on this came when I addressed the Jamaica Stock Exchange conference. I don't know what it was, 5 years ago, 6 years ago. Sorry, COVID has messed up my perception of time, but a stock exchange is a mechanism that promotes and recognizes efficiency. A traditional stock exchange promotes and recognizes efficiency, creating capital growth and value. And that's the financing allocation and mechanism for much private sector industry. A social stock exchange can serve as the same role as a mechanism to promote and recognize efficiency in creating social value. So I'm going to stop there. I thank all of you for putting up with the technology lapses, and Dr. Medine, thank you so much for involving me in this, for giving me the honor of speaking, and congratulations to you and Dr. Minto Coy on the launch of this book and on the work and thinking that you've done to create it. And I just encourage both of you and everyone on this call to recognize the importance of it and embrace this mission and help to drive it forward. So thank you very much.
Very much, Professor Dunn. We're now going to go immediately to Dr. Knight.
All right. Well, give thanks. Let me just start by thanking both authors, yes, both Doctors Mintokai and Ambika for the work that they have done. Hope you can hear me quite clearly. You see, this thing of social entrepreneurship is not a new concept. It's really new words, because when you examine the historical experience of the Caribbean, we have always had a kind of social entrepreneurial mindset. I mean, anywhere you find persons who are disenfranchised and are trying to improve the quality of lives, they tend to implicitly and explicitly as well embrace a social entrepreneurial mindset. And we could see the evidence of this from during enslavement, with the rise of the Maroons, the structures of the free villages, the eventual emergence of mutual societies, etc. So we have always had that kind of reality. However, there's been an absence of the scholarship that guides how we could formalize all of these operations. And here's where the text becomes extremely important. Extremely important to inform policy, to inform programs, to inform projects, and most importantly, to inform our own programs that we have in entrepreneurship and social entrepreneurship across universities and other tertiary institutions within the region. I mean, for too long, we have only depended upon text that reflect another space and place and context and not our own reality. And creating a space for knowledge transfer requires contextual information where people can identify with this kind of information, what we might say is touchable information, things that reflect our own existence and our own reality. You see, the work of the social entrepreneurship, as we have done some work in Jamaica for more than 10, 12 years in terms of understanding what the platform is like, putting in place programs, projects, effecting the legislation, which is going to be finalized now, establishing the Jamaica Social Stock Exchange as well. So when I met Ambika and Indiana and knew that Ambika was doing our work, I was very excited about it, because one of our concerns was how do we get to replicate models that we have developed across the entire Caribbean. And of course, it's not just a copy and paste a model, but to, again, anchor that model within the reality of the space in which it's operating. So I was extremely excited by the work that Ambika was doing, because I'm saying, yes, now we have somebody in Trinidad who will be able to drive that process to formalize our historical experience into something that is real and more impacting and can actually show its contribution to the GDP, the GNP, and the overall development of a country, and by extension, the Caribbean. You know, and so part of what occurred was the establishment of seeds, similar to what we have in Jamaica, which is a social enterprise working group, where you're going to put in place policies and legislations to ensure that social enterprises are recognized as legal forms of businesses, because a social enterprise, in fact, is a business. The difference is how we actually utilize revenues generated, which is to plow it back into the mission, as well as to expand the business itself. When we think about the global reality today of what's called the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs, it is clear that traditional businesses, in and of themselves and how they operate, will not allow any developing nation to attain the SDGs. A trickle-down model cannot work. It will not work. It has never worked for the hundreds of years that have been applied, and it will not work today. Simply because the focus is very different. If you are speaking about zero hunger, zero poverty, access to water, gender equity, access to education, you'll find that the social enterprise by design mainstream all of these imperatives. The research has shown that the social enterprise focuses on the people who are most disenfranchised. And all of the SDGs tries to address those things. The national development strategies as well also address those things. So you see, the text will provide significant guidance to several key stakeholders, government agencies, international development partners, members of the social sector, and general community members. And the beauty about a social enterprise is that it endogenizes the growth, because you'll find that these organizations are usually located in the communities of the people they're trying to benefit, or in close proximity to that targeted community. Which means that depending on a trickle-down model, what is even more interesting, you'll find, is that social enterprises, well, we have found that in Jamaica, and I suspect it will be the same in Trinidad or in Barbados or Montserrat or Anguilla or St. Lucia, wherever we go, that most civil society organizations are dominated primarily by women. Now, that's an extremely important point for us to recognize, because the work of people like Lawrence and Nichols has shown that when women are involved in business, they argue that it is their family business. When men own a business, they say it's their business. It translates into the reality that social enterprises operated by women will keep their focus on benefiting the broader and the wider population, which has actually been the case in Jamaica, and I suspect will be the case in Trinidad. And of course, the cases mentioned in the text will also reveal similar outcomes as I have just suggested. So really, if we want to attain these Vision 2030s that most Caribbean countries have, we have to rethink the role and support that we give to social sector organizations. Extremely important. We have to rethink how do we allocate resources. Because remember, money is given to social sector organizations, social enterprises should not be treated as a gift, but as a social investment. And you're expecting a social rate of return on that investment. Hence the importance of the topic about sustainability of these organizations. How do we evidence that for every dollar that we have given to this organization, this is the rate of return on that investment? And coming out of some of our research, it has shown that usually the rate of return on investment in social enterprises phenomenally high. It is phenomenally high. It's not at 10 or 15% as we've seen within a regular private organization. No, it is in the hundreds of percentages. Simply because they target areas that face greater amount of risk. I know the basic argument that the greater the risk is also the greater reward. They not only reduce cost and generate savings for the state, but they also increase value creation through the empowerment of their beneficiaries. And it's a significant positive multiplier effect. So what we are currently doing in Jamaica is to actually create a framework that can actually assess how is that the social sector is contributing to the overall GDP and GNP. Now, this text provides a launching pad for Trinidad to do the same and even more work. Extremely important. It provides a launching pad for Trinidad to do the same and even more work. Again, I'm emphasizing that it is one of the first texts that provides useful information that can also be used now in the universities. Because most of our texts, all of our texts so far, are texts written for a different jurisdiction. Grounded scholarship is an extremely important thing. Developing the Caribbean scholarship is extremely important, especially given our own historical reality. You know, so the journey of 1,000 miles begins with a first step. I am thinking that this is not only a first step, this is a giant first step. And it provides the impetus for other persons who are researchers in the region to continue on this research and to build that body of scholarship that is so crucial and critical to ensuring that we train these youths properly. And remember, you know, this is not the youths today are not the same as those pre-2000. These youths have a social entrepreneurial mindset. They think global. The imperatives of economic value creation, social value creation, cultural value creation, and of course, environmental stewardship and environmental creation is something that is germane to the mindset of these young persons. And therefore, we need to have the information that fuels that kind of passion that these young people have. That evidence to these young persons that while we can generate significant revenue, we can also sustain the other critical imperatives for national and regional development, which are not anchored in traditional bottom line economic profit. So I want to just again congratulate both India and Ambika on this work. You know, I just almost not surprising that the first text is actually written by two sisters, because truly sisters have led the way in the social sector, in the social enterprise field. You know, so even as a virgin, I'm very happy, you know, to say really good work, Indiana, really good work, Ambika, and continue this work. I look forward to a lot more work coming from the team and from other scholars in the region. Give thanks.
Yeah, exceedingly grateful to both Professor Dunn and Dr. Knight for their excellent insights of the book, and also just signaling how instrumental this book is going to be in leading us forward over the next few decades. I'm especially excited about the initiative, the aspect of the initiative that finally allows the sectors, the private, the public, and the social sector to understand that we are nothing without each other. So at this point, ladies and gentlemen, we have heard about the authors. We have heard about the publication. Now it's time to hear from the authors. And I'll invite Dr. Medina, who will be coming in person, of course, and Dr. Winter Coy to make their respective responses. They will both respond with respect to the publication